Hi, welcome back to Chapter 10, the last chapter of Dan Gutman's The Homework Machine. The last time we saw the D Squad, they had taken the catapult that Brenton had built, and they had flown Belch over the rim of the Grand Canyon. Let's see if that has any consequences. We're on Chapter 10, it's now the summer. Sam, grade 5. So school ends, and we figured that's that. We got away with it. When we went into the principal's office for that meeting, we played dumb. Homework machine? What homework machine? We pretended we didn't know what he was talking about. There was no evidence. Nobody could prove anything. Sam's mom. I was dusting his room and I noticed that nice new computer wasn't there anymore. So I asked Sam where it was. He said Brenton asked for his back. I never called to check to see if that was true. Police Chief Rebecca Fish. In early June, 2 backpackers came across some junk scattered around the bottom of the canyon, not far from the river. It had obviously been dropped off the rim. Luckily, the stuff didn't land on them. The backpackers alerted the park ranger. He contacted me. Most of the pieces were too small to identify, but a few things looked like they might have been part of a computer. Who checks a computer into the Grand Canyon? I put out word to all the companies, organizations, and schools within 10 miles. We have strict rules against dumping debris in a national park. You know, visitors want to see nature, not somebody's trash. Miss R., grade 5 teacher. I was washing the dinner dishes when our principal, Mr. Wilson, called and told me about pieces of the computer being found in the canyon. I didn't want to think that my students had anything to do with it, but I couldn't help but wonder. I told him I had a theory about what happened. I guess he made a few phone calls. Judy, grade 5. That was probably the most humiliating experience of my life. School had just let out for the summer, and the 4 of us were called into the sheriff's office. We didn't know why. Our parents had to come, and Miss R. was there too. They set us down at this big table, and in the middle of the table was a piece of Belch, the busted-up keyboard. Nobody had to say a word. We knew what had happened. Sam, grade 5. So they ask if anybody has anything to say, and we all just sit there not looking at each other. We could have blamed the whole thing on Brenton. I have to admit that thought did cross my mind. He invented the thing, right? And he couldn't keep the secret. He invented the catapult too, but I couldn't rat him out. Brenton was my friend. They had no evidence to tie us to the keyboard. It could have been anybody's keyboard. We could have gotten away with it, but then Judy just burst into tears and the jig was up. Kelsey, grade 5. Judy just started crying, so I got up and said, "It was all my fault. I did it." Look, Brenton and Judy are geniuses. They shouldn't be prevented from going to college or doing something great with their lives because they made one stupid mistake back in 5th grade. I didn't want Snick to take the rap either. After all, his dad had died just a few months ago. Miss R. After Kelsey confessed, Judy shouted out that Kelsey was lying and that she was responsible for the whole thing. Everybody was shocked. I couldn't imagine Judy doing something like that. Then Brenton started yelling, No, it was all my idea." The 4 of them started arguing about which one of them was the most to blame, and instead of blaming each other, they all blamed themselves. They were all apologizing at once. I had never seen anything like it. Thinking it over, I decided somebody else really was to blame. Me. I should have known what was going on months earlier. I was naive. I should have been more on top of things. They did it right under my nose. I so wanted my students to be successful, and I wanted to think they were successful because of my teaching. I guess the sad truth is that I still had a lot to learn about teaching. And I can't be so trusting with students in the future. I'd be more careful next year. I told the kids they didn't have to go off and invent a homework machine, because a homework machine already exists. It's called your brain. Police Chief Rebecca Fish. When the kids were called into my office, I threw a scare in them. They confessed to everything. They seemed genuinely sorry for what they did, so I went easy on them. Made them hike down to the bottom of the canyon on a hot day and clean up the mess. Took them all day. Then I made them come into the office over the summer and say what happened so we got it on record. As far as I'm concerned, this case is closed. Kelsey, grade 5. I figured that was the end of it. School was over, summer was here. I wouldn't be seeing Snick or Judy or Brenton again until September. I don't know why, but I dyed my hair brown again and took out the belly button ring. I guess I just thought it was stupid. Judy, grade 5. We were leaving the sheriff's office, and I knew that if I didn't say anything, I wouldn't see any of them again for 3 months. So I worked up the courage and walked up to Brenton and asked him if he wanted to go out with me. What would that entail? That's the way he put it. What would that entail? He cracks me up. So I told him it meant we might get together over the summer. You know, get some ice cream or pizza or just hang out and talk and stuff. He said that sounded good to him. So I guess we're going out. I think so anyway. Brenton, grade 5. In honor of the beginning of summer, I decided to part my hair on the opposite side of my head. I really don't care about the way I look, but I read on the web somewhere that when you flush a toilet in the southern hemisphere, the water swirls clockwise. And when you flush a toilet in the northern hemisphere, the water swirls counterclockwise. So I thought it would be interesting to part my hair in opposite directions during summer and winter months. And Judy likes it better this way too. Sam, grade 5. I was thinking it over. In the beginning of the year, we all thought Brandon was a dork of the highest order. But I decided that Brandon was probably the coolest kid I ever met. And that includes me. Coolness doesn't come from having cool stuff or hanging out with cool people. It's not cool to try to be cool. It's cool to not try to be cool. Brandon just does his own thing. He's one of those guys who is so uncool that he is cool. You know what I mean. You reach a point where you cross the line of coolness. Anyway, after school ended, I decided to call him up. He said, "To do what?" "We don't have any homework." And I said, "I don't know. You want to play a game of chess?" And he said, "Okay." Kelsey, grade 5. I never thought I'd hear from Judy, but she called me up right after school ended. She said that Brenton and Snick were going to play chess over at Brenton's house, and she was going too, and did I want to come? Brenton's parents weren't home, but my mom said it was okay, so I said sure. By the time I got there, Snick and Brenton were already going at it hot and heavy. All year long, Snick refused to play Brenton, and now they were finally playing each other. I mean, it was intense in there. It was like the Super Bowl of chess. The two of them were staring at the board so hard I thought it was going to burst into flames. I didn't say a word. All I knew about chess was when Miss R told us. I counted up the pieces on both sides, and Brenton had one more pawn than Snick. That was the only difference, so I knew it was a close game. Every so often, Brenton would mutter something mysterious like classic Sicilian defense, or the old Benko gambit. I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm not so sure Snick did either. Judy, grade 5. Brenton was sweating and fidgeting and talking to himself. I couldn't believe Snick was giving him a good game. I remember thinking back in September how Snick was so dumb. And now he was holding his own at chess with the smartest guy in maybe the whole wide world. I was rooting for Brenton, of course, because he was my first boyfriend. Kelsey, grade 5. We took a break to eat some cookies Mrs. Damagacci had left, and I noticed that Brenton and Judy were holding hands. Holding hands? So I say, "Are you two going out or what?" Brenton just looked all embarrassed. But Judy said, "Yeah, we're going out." I knew it. So while they were off being all lovey-dovey with each other, Snick came over to me and asked me if I wanted to go get ice cream or something after the game. Can you believe that? Sam Dawkins actually asked me out. I tried to be cool about it. I said, "Are you just asking me out because Brenton or Judy are going out, or do you really want to go out with me?" And he says, "I really want to go out with you. I wanted to ask you out ever since school started, but I was too shy." Huh? Him? Shy? Unbelievable. I couldn't resist giving Snick a hard time. I said, "You need Brenton Damagacci to give you courage to ask a girl out?" How pathetic. Then I said sure, I'd go out with him. Brenton, grade 5. It reminded me of the class's Karpov-Korchnoi game in 1978. I tried a queen-side advance, but Snick had two aligned bishops clogging up the middle of the board. I offered him a poisoned pawn, but he was too smart to fall into that trap. Snick doesn't make dumb mistakes the way he used to. He was such a stronger player than he had been a few months earlier. I was up one piece, but he had the stronger position. I kept looking at the board, trying to come up with something that would trip him up. It was hopeless. Finally, I tipped my king over and we shook hands. He had beaten me. Sam, grade 5. I tried to be cool about it, but it was impossible. My heart was jumping out of my chest. I had just beaten Brenton Damagacci, the kid who was so smart that he got every kid in America to wear red socks to school. If I can beat him, that must mean I'm pretty smart too. Judy, grade 5. So Snick beat Brenton, and I thought nothing could beat that. But suddenly the doorbell rang. Brenton asked me to see who it was. I opened the door, and there was a guy in a suit standing there. He looked familiar to me, but I couldn't place the face. Then he sticks out his hand and says his name is Richard Milner. Kelsey, Judy let out this scream from the front hallway. We heard the door slam, and we all came running over. She was hysterical. She said it was the guy she saw on the street. I asked her what his name was, and he said it was Milner. Milner? That was the guy who was stalking me online. He was right outside the door. I freaked out. Sam, grade 5. Kelsey starts in screaming, "Call the police! Call 911!" I didn't know what to do. Judy and Kelsey were screaming and crying and running around like an asteroid was about to hit the house. They said the guy was with the FBI or the CIA, and we would all be going to jail. I looked around for a baseball bat or something. I could hit the guy with it if he tried to break down the door. Brenton, grade 5. I opened the door. What else could I do? The man was just standing there. Sam, grade 5. So Brenton opens the door and asks the guy if he's with the FBI. He says no. Brenton asks him if he's with the CIA. Again, he says no. I can't take it anymore, so I ask him who he is and what he wants from us. He says nobody's in trouble and we didn't do anything wrong. That calmed the girls down a little bit. Judy, the guy showed us his business card. He says he's in the marketing business and he works for a company that sells stuff to kids. I asked him why he was stalking us, and he said he wasn't stalking us. He simply wanted to talk to us. Sam, grade 5. I asked the guy what kind of stuff he sells to kids. He says everything. Breakfast cereal, toys, toothpaste, clothes, video games, music. So he asked, what does that have to do with us? Kelsey, grade 5. The guy says he's looking for kids who influence other kids. You know, like kids who are the first to do stuff and that everybody else starts doing the same stuff as them. Kids who can start trends. He's been trying to talk to us for a long time, he said, because he thought Red Sox Day and Inside Out Day were brilliant and effective marketing plans. If Brenton could get every kid in America to wear Red Sox to school, he said, imagine how much breakfast cereal his clients could sell. Imagine how many toys, clothes, tubes of toothpaste, video games, and CDs his clients could sell. He said he would pay Brenton if he would help him. Sam, grade 5. I'm thinking how much. I mean, this could be bigger than Mick Homework. Judy. Basically, the guy wanted Brenton to help him trick kids. He wanted Brenton to spread the word that certain products were cool so his clients could make more money. I didn't think it was very nice, and I told him so. I told him that kids don't need anyone to tell them what to buy. Most toys are junk anyway. We can make up our own minds about which video games to play and CDs we should listen to. We can make up our own minds about what's cool. But of course, it was Brenton's call. He invented the machine. He was a computer genius. Bren, grade 5. I thought it over. I told the guy I'd like to go into business with him. Judy was really mad. Then I told the guy I didn't want to sell toothpaste and I didn't want to sell clothes or CDs or video games. He says, well, what do you want to sell? I told him I don't want to sell some product to the kids of the world. I want to sell an idea. A really good idea that I've been working on in my head. The guy was all excited. He asked, what's the idea? What's the idea? I looked around like it was a big secret that I didn't want anybody else to hear. Then I whispered in his ear, do your homework. The guy left. I don't think he'll be bothering us anymore. Well, that's the end of the homework machine. I hope you enjoyed the story. Join me next time for another book. Have a great day.